The ICE problem has not gone away. I know that we haven't talked about ICE as much on this broadcast, but obviously ICE is still a terrifying menace on many communities, many neighborhoods. And we are, of course, going to be talking about what ICE did in Texas. There were 4 men, I believe they were undocumented migrants. They were workers in a van in Houston, Texas, and they were driving around as a federal agent shot and killed the person driving the van, who was an undocumented Mexican man, in his van during a traffic stop in Houston. This happened last Tuesday. The government rushed to follow a familiar template. Just as it had after other shootings, the Department of Homeland Security released a statement insisting that the man, Lorenzo Salgado Araujo, had weaponized his vehicle against the officer who then justifiably opened fire. That's what their claim was. DHS offered, of course, Araujo. So here's what took place. Once again, another unjustifiable act of murder in broad daylight. Same script. DHS lies about the situation, says that he was weaponizing his vehicle. There were 3 other people in the van with the now deceased man, and they presumably could recount their version of what happened. The victim's brother and 2 employees of the dead man's construction business. They were detained by Immigration and Customs Enforcement during the encounter, and we haven't heard from them publicly about what happened. So they have 3 witnesses to the crime that they're actually holding currently, on top of everything else. The son of Lorenzo Salgado, the Houston man who was shot and killed by an ICE agent, went on Aaron Burnett on CNN and talked about the situation. Let's take a look.
So what was happening here is that he was driving a crew to a home building site when he was killed. There you go. You see it. About 5 seconds later, black SUV driven by ICE begins to follow him. Yeah,
the first crime here happened for the last 30 years. The first crime is not, and before people say, oh, because he didn't have his paperwork. Yeah, the first crime is the crime by the federal government for not issuing this man the proper paperwork to continue working legally on U.S. soil. The recent crime, the much more severe crime, is, of course, the Gestapo thugs of the state assassinating him in broad daylight and then also lying with impunity. Ariana Jasmine says, for 35 years, Lorenzo Salgado Araujo woke up at 5 a.m. and built homes across Houston, had no criminal record, but was still fatally shot by an ICE agent in an unmarked car on his way to pick up his construction crew Tuesday morning. This is America. And immediately people go, entering the country illegal is a criminal offense. Your entire argument gone 35 years ago when you crossed the border, try again. The fucking punishment for border crossing, especially 35 years ago, but even now, is not murder. People that respond this way are fucking animals, okay? You are an animal. You are lower than an animal. You are not an animal, actually. An animal has at least like some self-preservation skills. An animal has a higher degree of morality than these fucking dildos do. Like, that kind of sentiment used to happen all the time. It would happen on 4chan. It would happen on Poll. It would happen on, different Discord servers, things like that. It's just mass disseminated in broad daylight nowadays. It's so fucking annoying.
So by 6:48 a.m., Ring camera footage from the area shows what appear to be federal agents standing over people, detained on the ground next to the van.
By the way, the probable cause that the DHS will push for this is targeted enforcement operations, right? That's what they say. It just means racial profiling. That's all it is. They look in a car, they see that it's a van, they see that there's a brown guy driving it, and that's enough to set them off. And if they're feeling like they want to murder that guy, they get away with it. That's it. That's literally all this is. Yes, a Kavanaugh stop, as it's called.
The preliminary details that a source shared with us says that Ronaldo's father was not the target of the operation, was not the target of the operation. And I emphasize that because the earliest statement from DHS said that it was a targeted operation.
Yeah, they're lying about everything. They're lying about like the car was used to ram the ICE agents. Like, it's all fucking bullshit. It's always bullshit. ICE officers not wearing body cameras during deadly Houston ICE shooting, says Department of Homeland Security 3 hours ago. 3 hours ago, family says dad was scared and wanted to protect his tools, workers before deadly ICE shooting. Harris County District Attorney speaks with family after Lorenzo Salgado shot and killed by ICE. Houston law enforcement will not be involved in the investigation into the deadly shooting involving ICE. Of course, he did not deserve to die, said family and community leaders. And on top of that, we now know that there were 3 other men who were in the van with the victim in the ICE shooting and they're potential witnesses, but they're now under pressure to self-deport, a rep for the families tells me. They remain in detention even as ICE's story falters. The families of the detained men who were in the van with the dead man are being represented by Juan Proano of Lulac. He tells me the families have been able to contact the men in detention. They're being pressured to sign self-deportation orders. So they literally are, they murder this guy. There's 3 other witnesses, and they're trying to get the witnesses out of the country immediately. And because they have tremendous power over their freedom currently, they can probably get them to sign off on this. This is not reformable. Yeah, one of the men is his brother. Yes, one of the 3 men is his brother. That kid that the young man on the left, if I recall correctly, said that his uncle was one of the 3 men in the car.
Stop right there on one thing that Juan just said. This happened on Tuesday morning, and your family still does not have your father's body?
That's correct, ma'am.
All of the personal identifiable information was taken from Lorenzo before he was put in the ambulance. When he arrived at the Bentop Hospital, he was checked in as a John Doe.
This is why it's not just abolish ICE. This is why it's punish ICE. Okay? Hold ICE accountable. We have to bring back fucking law and order into this goddamn country. These people are lawless bandits. They're thugs. The way that they're operating is completely unacceptable. It is ripping apart the social fabric that is holding us together. We can't go on like this. We have to abolish ICE and we have to punish ICE straight up so that no other law enforcement agency ever tries to do something like this again, no matter who's in charge. You get another despot in charge that tries to even fucking entertain doing something like this, immediately the people, the law enforcement that is supposed to carry out those tasks go, nah, I'm out. I can't do it. I'm sorry. They have to be made an example of. Otherwise, we have no laws.
But the DHS had said your father used the vehicle as a weapon.
Look, I know my father. His main concern was to keep the van safe and his tools safe.
So he did try to hit them with his van? No, dog. ICE did. ICE instigated it. You can see in the fucking footage, random fucking black cars running up, no lights. They start fucking ramming into your van. I don't know how else to be clear about this. I don't know how to explain this to people who just don't understand it. Like, ICE goes up to a random van. They openly admit it's not even the right van, right, after the fact. They lie about how the person driving the van was actually, driving in an irresponsible manner, tried to ram the van into their cars or something like that to create a scenario by lying where lethal use was justifiable. There's 3 other witnesses in the car. Those 3 other witnesses are now in the custody of the group that killed this person. The body is still in their custody. They're controlling every aspect of this. Local law enforcement can't even investigate the situation. This is a direct crime that local law enforcement is refusing to prosecute. Another instance where a unaccountable federal agency has come into your town and assassinated one of your neighbors in broad daylight in the middle of the fucking day, in the middle of the morning, and local law enforcement is not doing anything about it. And the other witnesses, the firsthand eyewitnesses of the crime, are slated to be deported from the country. It's insane. What are people supposed to do? Also, video appears to show no damage to the vehicle of the man ICE killed in Houston who had lived in America peacefully for 35 years, despite ICE's claim that he rammed an ICE vehicle and tried to run over an agent. These people are not credible.
The white van makes the U-turn as you're going to see the unmarked car here in black trying to force the car going the opposite direction. Now, this is right before Salgado is ultimately shot.
Here, video appears to show no damage to the vehicle of the man ICE killed in Houston who had lived in America peacefully for 35 years, despite ICE claim that he rammed an ICE vehicle.
Operation. ICE claims Lorenzo Salgado Araujo rammed a law enforcement vehicle with his van and tried to run over an agent. And ICE says their agent fired in self-defense. They claim Lorenzo Salgado Araujo wasn't authorized to be in the United States and he died at the hospital operation.
Why are the ICE cars unmarked? I mean, that's the whole thing. That's the whole problem, don't you think? Unmarked cars, unmarked agents. It just looks like a bunch of thugs, a bunch of criminals that are trying to steal potentially your supplies from your work van. They probably know something we don't. Man, what the fuck are you talking about? No, they don't. What is this? Why is it that your first assumption, especially after ICE has done this a million times over. Your first assumption is to think, oh, well, I'm sure they had a good reason to fucking murder this person. They literally admitted it was the wrong car, it was the wrong person. The fuck's wrong with you? And they've lied every single time they've murdered someone. They lie every single time. Luckily, I guess, for American future, there are so many people who just genuinely abide by a hope and a dream that, like, there is a good reason for all of this. That institutions they must be working, right? Like, they're federal agents. Dog, they're federal agents that got no fucking training whatsoever and don't have any accountability whatsoever. Many of the former federal agents have openly admitted that there's just like this culture of ultra violence within the system, where, you know, people do heinous things. Like, people amongst the members of ICE, amongst their ranks, have done such heinous things that they had to fucking quit because they were like, this is ridiculous. Now, once there's a pattern established because of an unaccountable part of federal law enforcement that is greatly overstepping its bounds and is now constitutionally protected to do so, directed by a despotic tyrant like Donald Trump to do this, to soothe the unlimited appetite for violence, for ultra violence against the brown and black masses, the permanent underclass of this fucking country, you arrive at this crazy predicament that happens all the fucking time.